Morning. I'd like to talk to you today about the way that we teach literature in our high schools. Because I think there are two paths that you can choose from. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, what is the purpose of language arts class? Is it to encourage students to become lifelong readers? Or is it to make students read canonical literature? Like stuff that is stuff that the critics say, this is the great literature that is important to our culture. The problem with that second option is that some students in a regular mainstream language arts class aren't going to read those texts whether we ask them to or not, whether we grade them on that or not. Because that's not what motivates them. What motivates them is something else. Like they come to school and they don't care about their grades. They don't care about reading great literature or about finding things that somebody else says is important. They want what's important to them. And that's why I propose to you that it's more important that we encourage our students to become lifelong readers. The reason why is because if we create lifelong readers, they're going to get to those texts that the critics say are important. If they start reading in high school, they're going, sometime in their life, they're going to ask, isn't there something more? Isn't there something more important or bigger? And that's when they're going to get to the texts that the critics say are important. And it's also getting our students to become lifelong readers. To figure that out, we just need to figure out what is the best way to intrinsically motivate them to read. So there's some research that tells us that students who read more become better readers. Okay? If you can just get a student to read something that they want to read, then they're going to become a better reader the more that they read. Okay? I think it's something like 15 to 40 minutes a day. If a student reads for 15 to 40 minutes a day, their reading scores show growth over a year. Tremendous growth compared to other methods of reading instruction. How do we find these texts that students want to read? Well, we let them choose. Okay? Students who choose the text that they read are also more likely to read. And if they're more likely to read, they're going to become better readers. The second thing that we can do to help them want to read more is to get them to talk about what they read with other peers. Okay? So students who talk about what they read are more likely to read, are more likely to find other texts that they're interested in because they're sharing these with a peer. And so they have this list from all their peers of other books that they want to read. So then they are more likely to read because they're choosing those books, and they will read more and become better readers, who will then encounter those canonical texts that we say are so important outside of school, after they've left education. Or if we get them when they're in like 5th grade, when they get to high school, they do care about those canonical texts. So, here's what I'm proposing, is for teachers to start trying to find books that can connect with what they're doing in class already. Thank you. So, for example, if you're reading Romeo and Juliet in 9th grade, you can find a selection of texts that students can choose and read in class that matches what you're talking about with Romeo and Juliet, but also allows the student to choose what they're reading. The way I do this is use something called Library Thing. And they have a tag match features. So we tag, all these people who use library thing are going to tag their books different things. Some of them are going to tag them Romeo and Juliet, young adult, love, all this stuff. So if I want to find texts that are good for teaching Romeo and Juliet, or that pair well with that text, I can put in Romeo and Juliet and young adult in my tag match. And I get all these books that may relate to the two. Saving Juliet is a story about this time-traveling teenager who goes to Italy and is somehow transported into the time of Romeo and Juliet and has to keep Juliet from killing herself. The Son of the Mob is a modern-day retelling of Romeo and Juliet, where Romeo is the son of this mob boss, and Juliet is the daughter of the FBI agent who is going after the mob boss. So you can look through this list and pick and choose the books that are best going to suit the students that teachers have. What's another text or another theme that you encounter in your classes? 1984, okay, is a text that that you guys read first semester, right? Okay, so 1984, and I'm going to put in young adult just because we don't want like college level critical analysis in 1984. Not because you couldn't handle it, but because that's not really what we're going for here. We want something that links with the novel. So 1984, young adult. And we'll try that. We might have to put in like Orson Welles or something like. No, it's not Orson Welles. Who wrote that? George Orwell. Thank you. It's the O that messed me up. Okay? Because we might just get books that happened in 1984. But no, Little Brother is actually a modern-day story about how a teenage hacker goes up against the government. Goes up against the U.S. government while they're like doing all their post 9/11 monitoring. Interstellar Pig. Let's just see if this links up, because I'm thinking it's kind of like Animal Farm, or at least there's a pig in it. So maybe there's a pig in it. Okay, so yeah, aliens, which could be an interest point for a mainstream student. So let's I'm just going to go down to the bottom and see if we can find. We're at the summer cottage next door. Barney's boarding vacation at BC that takes turns there. Alright, so that doesn't really sound too much like 1984. No. So maybe it's just written in 1984 or something like that. You do have to take the time to look through the books and choose the ones that will work. But that is what I'm proposing that teachers do more often in their mainstream language arts classes to get students interested in reading and perhaps more interested in the canonical text that they may be required to or may choose to teach. Are there any questions? No. Thank you for your time.